Are all evangelicals or all evangelical churches bad? I get this question a lot. It always sounds something like this, like, Paul, that's not what our church is like, or you're broad brushing all of us. The answer to that question is pretty simple, because I'm a follower of Jesus, and the Bible tells us it's what Jesus did. We see in the Bible where Jesus said, Jerusalem, you who kill the prophets. Now, there's an estimate that there were some 3 million people in Jerusalem that day, and I'm going to venture a guess that not all of them had killed a prophet. Broad brushing? Jesus later is quoted as saying, Capernaum, you religious city, you think you're going to be raised up? Nah, all of you are going down to Hades, and Sodom's going to have a better judgment day than you. Didn't he recognize there were some good churches in Capernaum at the time? And then there's the time that Jesus was calling the religious leaders a brood of vipers or a whitewashed tomb or something like that. And these guys, the lawyers, came to Jesus and they said, Jesus, when you insult those guys, you insult us too. And Jesus spent the next 9 verses of the text telling those lawyers what he really thought of them. And it wasn't pretty. The Bible talks about principalities or mindsets or groupthink. Jesus said it was like a leaven that goes through a group and makes them blind without eyes to see or ears to hear. And the Bible holds all in a group responsible to it, even the good ones. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said it like this. He said he was disappointed in the white moderate who would rather be silent and look for a better time than speak out. In this season, when evangelicalism is being used to give permission to people to do evil things in exchange for low taxes and calling it godly, it's not a day for fence sitters to say, that's not me. When churches are chasing people away with their politics rather than drawing them in with the story of Jesus, and encouraging people to vote lower taxes instead of taking care of the commands of the Bible to love the poor, the marginalized, the foreigner, and the widow. When we're condemning to hell anybody that doesn't belong to our religion or happens to love somebody we don't think they ought to love, then the church simply is not looking Christ-like, and we can't excuse ourselves by saying, that's not me, that's not my church. Jesus said if a tree doesn't bear fruit, it's cut off at the roots and thrown into the fire. And he pointed at a building and said, not one stone of that religious system is going to stand on another. I think it's a time for people to stand with Jesus, to take long looks in the mirror and not use excuses to avoid being introspective. And if your church is not one of those bad ones, then speak out against those that are. Because I'm sorry, the big C American Christian church just simply does not look like Jesus.